and welcome to Tobias Stepan. He's the Managing Director from Teamwire. Welcome to the conference. What brought you here to Riga today?
Well, today we've got a huge GDPR conference here, and since the GDPR law is like one of the biggest challenges for enterprises in recent times, and one of, let's say, the core focus areas of our enterprise, that's of course an important conference for us to attend.
Yeah, I understand you're somewhat, let me say, a WhatsApp for companies.
Yeah, that's correct.
What you do?
That's correct. So simplified, I mean, we are an enterprise messaging app that's basically focused on solving the WhatsApp problem of enterprises and public sector companies. And so customers call us simplified WhatsApp for enterprise.
So what measures do you take to ensure the data that your customers send through?
Well, on the one hand, all the things that WhatsApp does, we don't do, like storing address books is not our, let's say, in part of our portfolio. We protect metadata. We try to anonymize and pseudonymize data as far as possible. We encrypt strongly not only the transmission, all the messages end-to-end, everything that's stored on our servers. Basically, we try to use as minimum data as possible. Yeah. We see us as a provider for enterprises and public sector companies, and that's why it's very, very important that the enterprise is in full control of the data, and that's what we can provide with Teamwire.
So you're an application layer, is that, could you say that, on top of the data that the company hosts itself then? Because if you're not storing the personal data?
We are basically a full solution, from client to server, end-to-end basically. But the company is in full control, even if it's stored in a cloud or on their own servers, which our solution provides, full control of the enterprise.
Okay. And what are the major challenges that your customers are facing now with the introduction of GDPR and when they use Teamwire?
Well, I would say many. I mean, when you look at the last couple of weeks, only the number of requests that we get from customers and inquiries has basically doubled every week. You can see that a lot of latecomers who are not really sure how to handle the GDPR. The GDPR is such a complex topic that, well, I mean, from an organizational perspective, from a process perspective, from a technology perspective, that it covers so many angles that are very, very difficult to handle for enterprises at the moment. WhatsApp often emerges then as one of the, let's say, solutions that are used internally as part of the shadow IT, which are not fully compliant. And as part of that, of course, the demand is strong, very, very strongly growing in the recent weeks.
Mm-hmm. So one of the major challenges that companies have is that people use WhatsApp, maybe. And what is this number 2, number 3 challenges that you heard of?
Well, I mean, the thing that we are most in contact with is this WhatsApp problem as part of the share. I mean, this is what you see everywhere and across. I mean, WhatsApp is one example. I guess Dropbox would be a similar thing. I mean, all these consumer tools that are basically part of the shadow IT of the enterprise. This is a big problem, and now with the GDPR, of course, these kind of things emerge and become something that need to be solved in a way. And this is something we see across all industries. However, especially, let's say, the regulated industries like financial services, healthcare, the public sector, or also energy utility companies, of course, they need to act. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is the topic that was a couple of years ago was popular, the bring your own device? Is that still a topic that you face?
It is in some enterprises. However, what we see is that it's becoming less and less important because the enterprises give managed company devices to the employees more and more, and there's a need for bring your own device becomes less. Mm-hmm. However, there are cases from time to time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you think of privacy by design, what are the major definitions? Because there's some speculation of how you actually define privacy by design because it affects different areas in the business.
I would say in general, use as little data as possible. I mean, that's how we would define privacy design. I mean, ideally, if we don't need the data, we shouldn't have it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we should only access the data that is relevant to provide the service to our customers. That is how we would handle privacy by design. Try to anonymize, pseudonymize as much as possible. Try to encrypt as much as possible. And by these means, still being able to provide the kind of let's say, functionalities that enterprises require, because of course between privacy and security and usability is always a trade-off, and yeah, that's something you have to balance in the interest of your customers.
Exactly, that's a good point that you bring that up. The consumer, in your case, these are the employees of your customers. What is their feedback on the usage of apps like you have?
Well, I think they like the simplicity of these apps, and this is exactly what you, which is actually a core requirement. I mean, in cases of WhatsApp, I mean, this is a high standard that WhatsApp has set, because it's a very easy and good tool to use, and you have to try to, provide the same functionality in the enterprise world. Yeah, simple to use, fast, intuitive. Yeah. And still providing the security that the enterprise require, basically.
Mm-hmm. And if we talk about the security again, you're probably familiar with the offering that Facebook has for companies like Workplace. How do you compare, and what would you suggest that people look at specifically if they're thinking of using that service?
So, I mean, tools like Facebook work, I mean, we hardly see here in Europe, actually. The reason is that I guess the customers that we provide TeamWire to, as mentioned before, customers in, let's say, more regulated industries with high security and data protection requirements. And for these kind of customers, a tool like you mentioned is probably not the right solution, because it's a cloud in the United States. You don't get order dating processing agreements. You cannot be sure how your personal data is handled. And for many customers that basically we provide our solution to, this would be a no-go. Yeah. I think our strength is basically a very intuitive and simple to use app that is very similar to typical consumer messaging apps that you know, but at the same time to provide a very, very comprehensive set of features with regard to data protection, security, compliance, company-wide administration, and basically everything that you need to ensure that your data is protected and secure.
Are you thinking of making a popular version of TeamWire for consumers, not a industry-focused one?
At the moment, no. I think what is an important topic in this space is, of course, this external communication. This is something that we continuously improving. However, we are focused on the enterprise world, and that's, I think, our USP.
Okay, thank you very much, and enjoy the conference.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.